is if you ultimately come here to do a PhD and are funded to do that PhD, we will manage, we will pay you. We're the nice people who will pay you every month and will arrange payment of your fees and a whole range of reporting requirements to all the different funders. So I'm here to hopefully try and answer your questions, and I'll just pass you on to Guy, or my colleague Guy Brown, who will introduce himself from the fees point of view.
Hi, my name's Gary Brown. I'm a financial accountant within the tuition fees. If Mark's responsible for paying fees and making awards, then we're the ones that charge the fees and look after the amount that you're charged and how your fee is calculated. And that's really what we do. So I'm here to answer any queries you may have today with regard to fees and how fees are calculated. Are we ready to go, or?
Yeah, we've no questions so far. Maybe I'll give you a very brief overview in relation to the funding process. If you apply, and hopefully you will apply to do a PhD at Queen's, and you apply for funding, ultimately, if you're successful in that process, and you're in most cases you're due to start next September, October, my team would write to you with an official funding offer to say that we're offering you a studentship, and from there we would manage that process. We would get your acceptance, complete your bank details, pay you every month, etc. Throughout the duration of your 3-4 years, however long you're at Queen's, however long your funding lasts for. And say we pay your fees, we pay you every month. PhD students, funded PhD students, are paid very much like a member of staff at Queen's. You're paid on a monthly basis on the same day every month, the 25th of the month every month. There is a standard amount of money. The rate of studentships is set by an umbrella organisation called UKRI, which is UK Research and Innovate. They set the rates for studentships for the fees and stipends that we can charge and what we pay out. At the moment for this year, we don't know what the rate will be for 21-22, but the standard rate this year is £15,285 for the year. That is paid to you monthly basis. That equates to roughly, well, exactly £1,273.75. Don't forget the 75 pence per month at the moment. That rate will go up next year. It doesn't go up a huge amount, but it'll go up a little bit. So you're paid that monthly in arrears, and that's some studentships that we advertise will pay maybe possibly slightly higher than that. There may be external companies involved who will pay what's called a top up. So that's the standard rate. That's in around that amount, £1,273.75. is paid to you gross every month. You do not pay any tax or any deductions in that. National insurance, that's what you actually receive each month. So that's the basics of a PhD studentship. I say there's a huge range of them across the university at the moment being advertised. So I'm just seeing the first question there. Guy, do you see one there with fees for EU students? Will fees for PhDs of EU students be charged at international rate due to Brexit?
It hasn't been finalised yet. What we are being told is that that EU students fall into two categories. There are EU students who are currently living in the Republic of Ireland or ROI resident. ROI students will be charged depending on where they're resident. If they're resident within the Republic of Ireland, they will be charged the same rate as Northern Ireland students. If they have NI or ROI nationality but are resident in the UK, then they will be charged the same rate as UK students. EU students at the moment it does look like they will be charged international fees.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Nomer. I see a question there from Caroline around sort of similar for students from the Republic of Ireland. Every funder is slightly different. There is a degree of uncertainty, as Guy said, around fees. There's a degree of uncertainty around the funding of studentships at the moment as well. We're seeking clarity from the funding bodies at the moment, but there's a whole mixed economy around our studentships. Some of them are available to apply for wherever you come from in the world, whether it's Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, wherever, America, wherever. There's some of them are limited to UK students. So it's really whenever you go on to look at, if you're looking at the advertisement for studentships, they should have a criteria there of who's eligible to apply or who will be eligible for a full award. Republic of Ireland students, are certainly eligible for quite a few of the awards. Again, there is certain funders. The biggest funder that Queen's has is the Department for the Economy here in Northern Ireland. It's part of the government in Northern Ireland. They haven't established. They haven't established their position in relation to 21-22 yet. We're hoping we will get some clarity on that early in the new year. But at the moment, and then we have advertised on our funding finder tool. Hopefully, it will state who's eligible to apply. But there is certainly plenty of awards available for wherever you come from in the world. I say obviously the majority of them are aimed at UK students, but there are quite a significant number of awards that are available for everybody. So hopefully that answers that question. Fees and funding for part-time PhD.
Well, the fees end of it is easy. Part-time students are charged 50% off the full-time rates.
Okay, in relation to the funding, again, some funders permit part-time study and will make students available for part-time study. Some don't. The Department of Economy, I've just mentioned Northern Ireland body, who is our largest funder at the moment, don't only allow full-time study on their studentships. That is a question again that's been, that they are looking into, and it may possibly change in the future. But at the moment, what we call DEFI, Department for the Economy in Northern Ireland, will only fund full-time study. The research councils permit part-time study, and certainly the direction of travel is that most funders are moving that way to permit part-time study to obviously reflect people's work-life balances and issues and problems that people have in the background. But at the moment, as I say, again, it's a mixed economy. Research councils, yes. Quite a lot of funders, yes. Department for the Economy, no, at the moment. And though we do hope that will change, but realistically, I don't think it will change in time for 21-22, but entry. But we are hoping to get some update with them early in the new year.
Can I just pick up on, there's one question there from Vanitha. I think your question's been cut short, but you're living in the Republic of Ireland, an Irish citizen. I think what you need to work, what your residency for the purposes of whether you're an NI and ROI student or a international student is determined where you've been ordinarily resident. To determine your residency, you need to be ordinarily resident for 3 years prior to the start of your course. So to qualify to have ROI residency, you would need to be ordinarily resident in the Republic of Ireland for 3 years prior to the start of your course.
I'm just going to pick up another one there. Are studentships guaranteed to all PhD research students? Unfortunately, we'd love to be able to say yes to that, but unfortunately, no. It's a competitive process. There's a limited number funded. We do have around 200 funded PhDs starting in September, so there's a good number of them there, but unfortunately it's not guaranteed for all PhD students. There's a separate process there, and as you will see if you've looked at our website and the funding finder tool, where you can go in and sort of narrow down your criterion to see what's available, it will state there obviously if there's funding available. Some studentships and some research are advertised without funding, but in most cases the PhD tends to be funding around it, because obviously it's a 3 to 4 year commitment, and most people do need some form of funding, but unfortunately there isn't guaranteed for all funding, and I say it's a competitive process, so we do fund quite a lot, but there will be cases where people unfortunately wouldn't be funded. I say unfortunately it's a competitive process, so you have to apply, and you'll be, in most cases the schools would interview and rank you against the other applicants, and then they would decide, obviously based on that, who they want to offer the award to. That question about if a supervisor accepts a student but she would not have any funding. Is it possible for a student to get a university scholarship? You can apply. You can certainly, the scholarships, and as I said, there's a whole range of funded PhDs there, but there's other smaller scholarships available, endowments and stuff. You need to check on our website. Now, in reality, most of those wouldn't be a full award and wouldn't provide you with a full what we call a stipend, a monthly payment and stuff. It might be a one-off lump, smaller amount of money. So it tends to be, if the supervisor accepts you, then it's possible to have that conversation with the supervisor, because sometimes they may be aware of some other funding available. They may have some funding available within their own reserves or resources. So, there's various range of other things that aren't full studentships, so scholarships and smaller endowments and stuff. But again, as I said, they wouldn't be a full award. They wouldn't cover fees and stipend. They may be, so it's really a matter of investigating what's out there and what's available. William, I don't know that answer. That or the 3 years counting for retirement purpose, or once we don't pay. I honestly don't know that. To be honest, that's a technical question that I don't know in relation to national insurance contributions policies. I don't know. I think there's a question from somebody in Nigeria. Hello in Nigeria. Hope you're well. I think on the Queen's homepage, there's links to postgraduate study, and within that, they give you advice on how much approximately it would cost to live and study at Queen's as a student. Obviously, there's international fees there, and depending on what subject area you're interested in, there's international fees. But then also within our own Queen's home website, there is a page there that will give you a rough estimation of how much it will cost to live in Belfast, to rent accommodation, to buy food, etc. So it's available on our home webpage. If you go into the postgraduate area of the webpage, it should give you some sort of guidance there. The part-time studentships, again, scholarships, there's a range. It's not, and often our studentships aren't advertised as being available for part-time. What they'll say is, they're in general available for full-time, but they can be. You would have to, the research councils, if you see any of our studentships advertised that are funded by, for those international students wouldn't be aware of what research councils are. The UK government funds these independent these bodies that fund university research, among other things. And the things like, the Arts Humanities Research Council, AHRC, and Engineering Research Council. So all their studentships are available for part-time study, and international students are eligible to apply for those. So if you see any of those on our funding finder tool, then you would be eligible to apply on that basis. Now, the research councils limit the amount of the number of international students that we can recruit on their funding. It's capped at 30% of the overall number of awards they give us. But anything from a research council would make, as an international student, you would be eligible to apply for, and also would be eligible to apply for it on a part-time basis. So hopefully that answers your question. Key aspects for prospects for getting a scholarship at Queen's, it really is the key to it, I think, in all things, is obviously to touch base with the school, the academic school, or the supervisor you're interested in carrying in your PhD research out, and it's really building that relationship and talking to them. Every academic school, will have a slightly different process and how they go, and what emphasis they need from a particular applicant for a particular award. So it's really building that, making contact with most of if you go onto the funding finder tool, it lists all our awards we have. It will normally give you a contact detail who you can contact. I think that would be the best part, because I say we are a broad church of obviously 15 academic schools, 3 faculties, and every school and every faculty has a different emphasis on where they want to, what they're interested in relation to the applicants. So it would be, if you really want to sort of dig into the particular area you're interested in, go to the funding finder tool, find the studentships you're available, or contact the school, or go onto the individual school's website and get the contact details, and then contact the academic involved. The Central University Administration, which I'm part of, we don't decide who gets the awards. That's very purely decided out by an academic decision by a panel within the schools or the faculties. It's done by academics. They're the ones that's best placed, obviously, to know about their research and what they want. So, the central administration of the university, we're here to do the administration, but we do not decide who gets the studentships, the funding. That is purely an academic judgment by the schools and the faculties involved. There's a question there: do Queen's provide funding for PhD projects proposed by students? In some cases, again, it's down to the individual schools. Some schools and faculties will invite the student to submit a proposal. In the majority of cases, the school or faculty will advertise their research that they're providing a studentship for. But in some cases, you are allowed. Our arts humanities faculty give out, I think, as far as I'm aware, broad research themes, and you can then put forward a proposal or narrow that down a little bit. So again, it's hard to give you a definitive answer for lots of these questions because the schools and the faculties are very much in control of the process of the studentships and the research and what area the research is in. So it's very much to make that, as I said previously, make the contact with the school or the individual academic that's been named and ask them to narrow it down and build up that relationship with them. I would say would be a key target moving forward if you're interested in coming to do a PhD. Sorry, there's some questions flying in here. I'm trying. Gary, there's no fees ones, it's all funding.
Oh no, I'm thankful for that, Mark. I've seen first fee once so that I can give you a break.
Let me see. I'm sorry if I've missed anybody here. So again, the part-time study, Danny, I think you've just mentioned. I have mentioned part-time study. A lot of the majority of our studentships are available for full-time study, but there is an increasing number now available for part-time study. And as I said before, the second biggest funder behind the Department for the Economy in Northern Ireland would be the research councils, the various research councils. So if you see things like, again, it's very, if you're aware of, if you're interested in arts and humanities, there's things like what's called Northern Bridge and Nine. These are all funded by research councils. Quadrat's another one. These are all what's called doctoral training programs, DTPs, and they will advertise their studentships on the funding finder tool, and those will be available for part-time study. So again, it's really, again, I'm going to end up saying this quite a lot, but it's making the contact with the school and the academic that's listed around the studentship or the funding or the research, and asking them, and they should be aware of what's available, whether it's full or part-time. That's really your key relationship there.
There's a question there from LG, Mark. I'll take it and give you a break.
What?
Take a glass of water. The level of fees for unfunded students for NI and UK students, the fees haven't been set yet. They're set by the Research Council. That usually happens early in sort of the 2021. For international fees, but if you're looking at the fees for last year, the home fee for NI and GB students was £4,407. I wouldn't expect that to increase any more than sort of by inflation, maybe by 2 or 3%. But again, that will be confirmed by the Research Council. For international students, the fee rate depends on the sort of the composition of the course. For the basic course for international students, and we think EU non-ROI EU students, the fees are 17,460 per year. If it's on fee rate 2, whether there's a significant laboratory rate, the annual fees are 22,000. And if it's a medical or with a heavy clinical element, then the fees go up as high as 38,725. In terms of unfunded students, we do have a number of students who fund themselves, and the fee schedule, so we have a number of payment plans that we can offer, but they're all essentially 25% of your fees are payable at registration and enrollment, and then we look at spreading your fees into the remainder of your fees, 75% remaining into 3 equal installments, which we can set up for a direct debit or a payment plan to take at the end of November, the end of January, and then the final payment at the end of March.
Okay, there's a couple that have went there previously. I'll just try and throw a quick answer to that. Somebody's asking about if you end up on a part-time PhD, what rate would you be paid if you were successful in the studentship? Again, similar to the fees, the stipend, what we call the stipend of 15,000, it would be split in two. A part-time PhD would receive whatever that is, about 7,600 ish pounds. As I say, that's the current rates for 2021. The rates for 21-22 won't be set until January, February time by the research councils. As Gary said in relation to fees, that doesn't go up a huge amount, maybe 1-2% a year. So part-time study, you would get half the stipend. Let me see. Adele, I think you're saying you've got a mission for a PhD. The project's not advertised, but selected for mutual discussion. What funder? You're an international student. That's a difficult one to answer, because you would really need to make contact with your supervisor and ask them for guidance on what would be available. It's, the fact that you've already, selected a particular PhD and research in a particular PhD would mean that in most cases our funding that's still available would be targeted to, certain areas of research. So you really probably need to discuss that with the academic, your proposed supervisor, and see if he or she would be aware of anything that would be about that you could apply for. Gary, you've done the fees there. Is there any set bodies that fund drama and health initiatives? Okay, that's a broad church, I suppose, or health initiatives, or drama to help with health initiatives. There is, as I say, the research councils cover all bases. As I mentioned before, AHRC, which is the Arts Humanities Research Council, they would fund things in around arts and humanities, obviously by the sounds of, by the nature of obviously what they're called. So, drama would come in under that. Health initiatives, again, similar. There is the Department for the Economy of Northern Ireland gives us a huge range of funding, and we allocate that all the way across the university. So there's DEFI studentships, as we call, available in all areas of the university, health, drama, whatever. So that they're across. The university doesn't allocates out awards. The DEFI awards in particular, say, who's our largest funder. We have about between 160 and 180 funded awards from DEFI for September start next year, and they're allocated all the way across the university. So again, it's getting onto the funding finder tool and putting in your criteria and see what's available, and that should that would hopefully then inform your decision what's out there at the moment in relation to it. And also the funding finder tool is updated on a regular basis, so there is more awards coming on stream, and so it's always a good idea to keep looking at it and keep checking on it. In relation to, and there's a couple of queries there in relation to, I think there's a student from Brazil and another student there saying, the awards are available. We don't, the studentships aren't, we don't have studentships particularly targeting people from poor backgrounds, is the phrase that they've used in the question. It's not phased. So the studentships are available for all to apply for, but in relation to the funded PhDs, there's none ring fence for any particular country or background. He says, trying to think off the top of my head if there's any ones. I don't think there is. They are advertised for everybody's eligible to apply for most of them, or the criteria. So we don't ring fence anything. There's no ring fence awards or funding, as far as I'm aware, for particular countries or particular backgrounds. So I may stand corrected in that, but I can't think of anything. If we do, we'll certainly update it on the chat later. Is it realistic to make deadlines for January 21 for funding if it's just starting the proposal? No, well, there's still time. There's a real cycle of business there, I suppose, and the cycle of business is that the university tries to get all its funding in place before Christmas for students starting in September, because obviously we want to be running events like this and advertising our studentships to try and get the best students available and confirmed into Queen's as soon as possible. Obviously that works well for you as students, because your funding would be, you could be made an offer in January, February, March time, and you've got your funding ready to go in September, and takes that weight of pressure off your own mind. And we're obviously keen to get all our studentships filled so that we have a gathered complete field that will start in enrolment in September. So a proposal, yes, you need to sit down, and again, every school does it slightly differently. And as you're asked for a proposal, then you certainly have still time for the January deadline. Just need to maybe do less Christmas celebrating and maybe get your head down for a couple of days over Christmas and prepare your proposal that way. But certainly there's enough time currently to go ahead. Sorry, the economy. Yeah, the Department for the Economy Northern Ireland is our major funder. It's called DEFI for short, DFE. They're our major funder at the moment. But as I've said previously, there's a whole range of funders out there. So the key is talk to the schools, check the funding finder tool and see what we're advertising at the moment. But it's the Department for the Economy Northern Ireland is our major funder. Can we still apply in QUB for PhD if we have EU funding? I'm not sure, William, what you're asking there. You're bringing funding with you. Obviously, you know, if you're funding to bring with you, that's brilliant. Anybody from the EU now, obviously, as Gary said, in relation to fees and in relation to funding, it's slightly complicated at the minute. Some of the funders haven't clarified the position going forward. But as I said previously, many of our studentships are available for wherever you come from. If you're applying for our funding, you know, in many cases, you know, everybody's eligible to apply. Certainly, as I said, I feel sort of repeating myself a few times, but the Research Council certainly funding would be available for all, and a whole range of funders would have funding that would be available for all students, or wherever you may come from. Jao, you've asked about the Chinese Scholarship Council students. We have 20 awards each year for Chinese students under the CSC scheme. So that, as I'm sure you're aware, is where the CSC provides the stipend to the student in China, and Queen's will then pay fees. So we have 20 of those available for over 2021-22 entry. Again, check our website. They've been advertised. They've been. I'm not sure quite what stage we are with those at the moment, but we tend to invite the schools, the academic schools, get involved in that process and try and recruit. But we are involved with the Chinese Scholarship Council and their scheme, so we do recruit 20 students a year under that scheme from China.
Okay, I'll take I think is it Stefan? He's asking what ordinarily resident means. Ordinary residence means that's your normal place of residence. As you say, you've got a permanent address in the ROI, but you're studying in the US. Initially, I would take that as that you can still be considered ROI, ordinary resident in the ROI, because you're studying away for academic purposes. However, what I would advise, your residency is determined by the admissions department within the university, and that's something that you probably would want to speak to them about before you make your application. Their contact details can be found on the website. If you speak to them, and in circumstances such as yours, it really comes down to sort of discussing exactly what your circumstances are and trying to establish where you could be considered ordinarily resident. But from what you're saying there, that your permanent address is in the ROI, but you're studying away, my initial opinion would be that you could still be considered as ordinary residents for the 3 years prior to the start of the course, even though you're studying in the US. But that's something that would be determined by admissions, and as I say, contact admissions and speak to them, and go through your specific circumstances with them, and they will give you the definitive answer.
Okay, there's the last couple there that I'll Fazil, I think you're asking you asked about the cost of courses and accommodation, etc. As I mentioned earlier, in relation to living in Belfast and the cost of living in Belfast, if you go to the section within our homepage dealing with postgraduate study or general study, actually at Queen's, they will give you a rough estimation of how much it costs to live at Queen's, the cost of accommodation, the cost of food, the cost of general living in Belfast. So that is on our website. And second, you're asking about academic fees. I presume you mean tuition fees. That very much depends on what area you want to study. As Gary said, is different rates depending on the next year of study. And again, different rates, obviously. If you're an international student, there's obviously a higher rate of fees. And again, it depends what area you're in, what subject you're studying. The fees can be found, I'm sure Guy will tell you, on their webpage, which will list certainly this current year's fees, Guy, I assume.
I'm not sure whether they're up on the website this year, but they have been determined for international students. The basic fee rate one for PhD is £17,460 per annum. For courseware, fee rate 2, where there is a laboratory element, a significant laboratory element, the annual fee is 22,000, and where there is a clinical element of a medical PhD, then the fees are 38,725.
Okay, and I just see one last question there from beneath it. We don't ring fence a certain number of awards for Republic of Ireland students or for any students. The studentships are available for all. The funder sets down the criteria. As I said previously, some funders will say it's only for home UK students. Lots of funders will say we'll consider applicants, or we'll make our funding available for any student from across the world. So there's not any certain number of awards ring fenced. There's not a certain number of awards ring fenced for students from Northern Ireland or from the UK or for Republic of Ireland or anywhere in the world. The studentships are there for all to apply based on the criteria for the funder sets down, and that should be on the funding finder tool. You should see any studentships that are available. They should highlight who's eligible to apply for the particular funder. Hopefully that answers your question. I think that's us to the bottom of the list, and we've just hit 2 o'clock. Perfect. So if there's anything else you want to follow up, I think as Donna's put in the chat there, if there's anything else we can follow up and come back to you on it. I hope that's given you some sort of flavour of where we are in relation to funding and fees for Queen's. And get applying and good luck. And hopefully we'll see you all in September.
Okay.